That's right. Good morning, everybody. Sorry there, Harry. We were. I need 5 extra minutes. I saw that right away, and I'm like, we can't be both those. One or the other. That's our Bobby. That should be the new name of our morning show. I'm late, and he's gay, and it's the morning.
I dibs on late,
Damn it, I'm gay. Clip it.
which is funny because you were late to saying you were late, which
Yes, I was.
theory would make you the late one and make me the gay one. But
I. Okay. We'll start. First of all, good morning, everyone. Friday, haha, all that fun stuff. Question: Do you think there was a first gay guy, or were this just right away first two gay guys? Like, do you think there was a guy that knew he didn't like women, but didn't know what that was? He's just like, I'm something, and then he like, because I, in my mind, there's the first gay guy. Then there's the second gay guy's not happy about it. The second gay guy didn't really have a choice. The second gay guy's like, I hate what you just made me. Like, you know what I mean?
I,
Like,
I think you just described prison to a T.
yeah, but I think it was there first. Good morning, Kish. Good morning, Stormy. Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
Mary Zoe, all these people. How are you? Yeah, like
Uh,
so.
I
I
go to
would
the
think
Bible.
there's a. I think with two, right? You would think.
Well, I actually go to the Bible and go.
Okay.
God made that Linda chick first, and Adam didn't like her, so God got rid of her. And then I think there was a period where Adam was in college and exploring, and God really didn't like that, so he made Eve.
What college? All boys school, like a prep?
It was kind of like that a separate piece boarding school where those two dudes were gay but never admitted it.
Never.
A
Yeah.
separate piece. I don't know if you
I,
ever had it. It was
what did you go to
mandatory.
school for? What did you go to school for back then?
I don't know how to tell you this. He was the first human, so it was kind of like when they let the Down syndrome kids go to college. And you're like, they're in college, but they're not in college. They're just kind of learning life.
Who who let him? Who didn't let him in at first? And he was like, "What the?"
The angels were like, no, no, no. And then he figured out some math problem on a board, and they were like,
Norm did the first gay. I know most of Norm's stuff. He did the first gay. That's probably where I heard it from. 'Cause I listened to Norm constantly. It's probably just in my head. I wasn't really doing a bit, but like, I
or
don't know
did,
that bit. I know a lot of Norm's bits, but like the first gay.
or did he do that bit about Adam going to gay college and being retarded? Because I could
I'm
see
pretty
that.
sure he didn't do. I'm pretty sure he didn't do Adam going to gay college and doing that, whatever. But good morning, everyone. It's a lovely Friday, and of course, I know you're all here early with your coffees, wondering did Charlotte the Stingray have her babies, her pups, if you will? No, of course she fucking didn't. She didn't.
Because they
Last
aren't real.
update we have. It's not real. The last update we have is March 13th, and that was a video of one of the trainers there at the aquarium thing in Henderson, North Carolina, feeding Charlotte. And underneath it said, Charlotte enjoying feeding time. Charlotte's having a great old time feeding away. How the fuck do we know Charlotte's having a great time feeding? It's a goddamn stingray. I mean, they have silly faces, but you can't tell. I know people think they can tell with certain animals. Yeah, I think you can tell with domesticated animals. But you can't tell they're having a good time. It has no other choice. I mean, I guess if you like, once again, Bob, you brought up jail. If you looked at jail and you looked at feeding time, some of those guys are smiling because they're not getting beaten up or harassed or anything happening. So they might be happier than they were before, but they're not having a good time at feeding time. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. And like, I guess the only way you could really tell is if the stingray doesn't go full Steve Irwin on you while you're feeding it, right? Like,
Right.
typically, it doesn't accidentally stab you in the stomach and murder you to death. You're okay.
And for anyone who's like, "Oh, Bobby's audio is a little weird," well, Bobby's in Canada and they don't know what audio is.
What's going on with my audio?
No, it might just, it's a little tinny. It's just when you moved it up, it was fine. It's gonna be that. You're on a headset. They're gonna be okay. I'm just before they get to it. I was saying that because it's not your fault. We have to blame Canada.
I mean, yeah, I'm running through the six with my woes.
What?
You know how that shit goes.
I don't. I know you're quoting a rap song, but I don't know any of those words.
It's Drake. I was running through the six with my woes. The six is
What's the
Toronto.
six? Okay,
Toronto. That's the area code, I think, or something.
just
And
six.
that's why he keeps calling himself the six god, and they always yell out six in his songs.
So wait, their area code is just six?
Or maybe it's the sixth district. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do Hunger Games in this fucking country.
He's the sixth district.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, that
Yeah,
movie.
it's Jennifer Lawrence versus Drake versus that kid with the big forehead. It's like, oh no, not that battle.
My money's on the kid with the forehead.
Always, always bet on the forehead. They got strength. Um,
Brings
so
me to
Charlotte, no babies yet, but they're waiting. They're anticipating. People keep wanting updates. They've said that they're going to continue to give 2 updates a week. That's all they're going to give us now. They're not going to give us all every day like they were before. You get 2 updates a week, which makes me feel like Bobby that when you do something like that, like you let's say you're dating someone and you're getting together every day, and that one of the people's just like, "Hey, this is a little too much. How about we go back like 2 or 3 times a week?" And then after those other days there, you can't get a hold of them. You're like, "Wait, this feels weirder." And then all of a sudden, they forget to call you one time during the week, and now they're not dating you at all. Like they're weaning you off instead of just cutting it off. And that's what I feel like is happening here with Charlotte the Stingray. Because I think you are right, Bobby. The more and more we get into this, I don't think it's really pregnant. I think this was a weird way. I think they might have by mistake at first thought it was pregnant because I'm guessing they're not good marine biologists. We forget to keep breaking down that part that who said they were good marine biologists? They are marine biologists that aren't near the ocean. They are in Henderson, North Carolina, in the mountains. Like that's like me being a space explorer in Cheshire, Connecticut. It's not space.
and you know for a fact that if they were good, they would be in the ocean. Because every little girl, when they're like, I'm going to be a marine biologist when I get older, dreams of working out of a kitchen sink in Henderson, North Carolina.
Yes, I think you're better off not pulling it up. I think it was good. I was just saying that there, and then it gets like real Taco Belly, Taco Bellian, if you will.
All right, I got 5 beefy burritos, 2 Baja Blasts.
That's the work. I need 8 rolls of toilet paper. That's quite the meal. 5 burritos and 2 Baja Blast to wash down. Each 2.5 burritos you need a drink for. It's good math.
They're large. They're large drinks, you know.
They're large burritos. They're beefy as well. But okay, so do we think? Let's be for real. Who is the piece of shit in this? Is it Charlotte the Stingray for not having these fucking pups? I don't know how fucking pregnancy works with stingrays. But okay, like I'm going to compare it again to things like Instagram. When you're following somebody on Instagram and you've been friends with them for a while, and then they post their first picture of their first baby bump, and you're like, all right, cool, you're gonna have a baby. But then like they don't really put the time when it was. They're not like, oh, I got it. We had sex 2 months ago, and now I'm pregnant. You don't know the conception date. They just show you the first bump. And then like a month later, like still pregnant. Look, I'm getting a little bigger. And then you're like, all right. And you kind of forget about it. And then a month and a half later goes by, and they're like, look at me, I'm even fatter now, or whatever. Look at me posing in front of a mirror. I can still wear my tiny girl clothes, but I got a big ass Ethiopian gas gut. Like, I don't know, you should be wearing those tiny clothes. They make big clothes now. And they keep doing it. And after a while, you're like, when the fuck are you gonna have this baby? And then finally, after a while, they're like, it's coming soon, holy shit. And you're like, I don't give a fuck anymore about this stupid fucking baby. And then finally you don't see you see one picture of the baby, and then like 10 days later, there's another picture of the same girl with baby bump. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you already taking that? Like, what are you doing? Stop getting come in. Like, is that what I'm saying? Is you keep seeing these pictures and keep pictures, and you don't care anymore. And I feel like that's what's happening with Charlotte the Stingray. We keep seeing her selfies, going, you know what? After a while, I don't give a fuck anymore. Is it the place for saying now we're only going to let you know twice a week? You were so fired up. Oh, now you can't handle the pandemonium that you caused. You caused this Beatlemania. You caused all the mountain folk to be running over to your downtown where you have one fish shop, one fucking coffee place, and a fucking fish tank. That's your big flourishing downtown. I'm sure there's schools also in the coffee shop. This is them for like saying, no, we can't update you anymore. We can't do it. Is it people who keep caring? I'm doing it for this show, but we'll find another stupid thing once this is over. I don't really care. I will. This is not something I'll remember ever afterwards. But there are people that really fucking care. It's the businesses, the people that are going, supporting it. It's everyone that's like having the baby fever, if you will, for all this shit? Or is it you and I, Bobby? More so you, but now me. I think we're a Twizzler team that are now casting doubt because we had talked before earlier on with these stories that this was the Jesus baby stingray, and maybe we are becoming the doubters. Maybe we are becoming Thomases, and this is the role we play in the stingray Bible. Who's the piece of shit in the story? Bobby, go first.
So first off, you described that situation where somebody gets pregnant on Instagram. We had a girl like that in our high school who did that, but she was just getting fat, and she kept eating and getting fatter, but pretending she was pregnant. And her plan was always just to get pregnant eventually. But the fatter she got, the harder it made to get pregnant. Like nobody wanted to impregnate the woman, so she ended up just eating herself huge. We're talking like
Oh,
bigger
this
than.
is death. I thought you were going to say death. I was like, oh no.
I mean, I'm sure that's coming at some point, but that's
Yeah.
probably going to be due to the diabetes. Hey, Jinx, you owe me a soda that'll contribute to her losing her foot.
The last thing she needs is a soda.
So
Diabetes jinx is my new favorite thing to do. If we both say a disease at the same time, then hope someone gets it. You know who I hope doesn't get diabetes? Our guest, Brandon Smith, everybody. There he is. Never has diabetes. A lot of
uh,
other things with the man, but not that.
he's so skinny. I don't think he eats sugar.
A little
He
bit.
personally forages the strawberries on a hike and then refines it down. Yeah.
I
The
personally
Brandon
enjoy
Smith
my
I knew could hike and find any trail, but also find any Dairy Queen in any place. So I know this man enjoys an ice cream once in a while. We would go
Yeah.
many times to a Dairy Queen.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just
I'm not
thinks
trying
that
to say I don't eat ice cream.
crap. He just thinks the ability
Brandon,
to
did you happen to hear our story? Did you know who a piece of shit would be in the Charlotte the Stingray ongoing birth case?
I mean, it's hard to say because I like what you said. Because Henderson, I've been there before. It's in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Okay, you know it.
yeah, it's just north of like Raleigh Durham area. So I've driven through there and stuff. 'Cause I was stationed in North Carolina. I was in the Marine Corps way back in the '90s. Yeah, I don't know, man. I would have to say probably the people there that are like worried about it. I don't know much about the story. You said something about a stingray Jesus. Was there more to the story that
Yes, I will brief you very quickly. We've been covering this since the beginning of our morning show, like about a month or so ago. So
nice.
Charlotte the Stingray is a stingray that was in a aquarium, quote unquote, in Henderson, North Carolina. A small little aquarium that a teacher who just made herself a marine biologist started. Now she has a bunch of aquatic life there, but she only has this one stingray, and it's been in a tank with 8 sharks for about 8 years and never had another stingray around it at all. But about a month or so ago, they noticed that it was pregnant. And they weren't, first people were like, oh, shark stingray fucking. But like everyone's like, no, it's not shark stingray fucking. And then they were like, is it immaculate conception? But then they're saying it's parthenogenesis, where the baby can almost clone itself when it has to in environments like that where there's nothing happening. But it's having a baby without any father involved in the thing. So it's become this big deal in Henderson, North Carolina, to the point where people are going to see the pregnant stingray that has no father, the bastard baby. So people are going to stare at it all the time. It's really built pandemonium in Henderson, North Carolina. We've talked about there's a pet shop there called Fish on Fins or Fins on Fifth, whatever, and they were like trying to help out because no one else, everybody wanted to see babies, and people were flocking and flocking. So they had a chameleon that had 15 babies, and everyone's like, "Fuck yeah, we'll go look at that for a while." And then there's a coffee place, Black Bear Coffee Company. They made a drink called the Stingray Shuffle Latte, which got like a coconut oil and a little bit of a dulce de leche. I don't know what that has to do with stingrays, but that's in there. And everyone's been capitalizing on this, and they've been whoring it out and getting business and people flourishing out there. The woman, Brenda Raymer, she has said that this is her quote. I want to bring aquatic life to mountain kids, which is the most hillbilly fucking thing I've ever heard. So all this has been happening with all the fucking people going on, but now it's been over like it was. The baby was supposed to be born about 3 weeks ago now. So it's went past the date. So Bobby feels like it's been a lie the whole time just to get people to go to this stupid aquarium, which they said the fish tank is big enough that you could kneel in it, but so small it could still be a decoration in a Chinese food restaurant. That's what NPR actually said. So all that being said, now we're thinking maybe they're doing the lies, and now Bobby and I are doubting that the baby's born. So we're feeling like maybe it is a Jesus baby, and we become the Thomases doubting the birth of the savior of the stingray. Because I think if Jesus was going to come back, he would come back as not a human this time. he would come back as something else and bring us all together. And then Bobby had also pointed out that maybe he's showing up because Steve Irwin died, and it's the way to like take over the full circle.
Yeah, I like that Steve Irwin connection. That's brilliant. But okay, after getting this context background, I have to say the piece of shit is the liberal woke agenda. We're trying to show kids that, oh, it's all right, just be a single mom, it's fine, you don't need no man. When you know, not to disparage any single mothers out there. I'm not judging anybody, but if you're gonna, you know, teach that to the kids, it's probably not a good idea. You should probably if you're gonna have a child, if you can, have a nice union, you know, if it works out. But don't start.
Well, you do need a man. I know they don't need no man, which is also a double negative, which means they need a man. But they wouldn't get the title of single mother without somebody coming in them. That's kind of how it works, unless you're Charlotte the Stingray.
Yeah, an immaculate conception. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Have you guys ever heard of fish falls? Is this phenomenon where fish will just fall from the sky, and scientists try to say it was from like they were sucked up in the tornado or something. They're in the sky. But there's a lot of evidence to refute that. There's like sometimes it's all the same species of fish that fall, and then there's like never any seaweed or anything else that goes with it. And it's been documented too with insects, like tons of insects just dumping from the sky. And for some reason, you know, we never hear about it. But I think that this realm that we live in isn't exactly what we've been told. And I think there's a way for life to just kind of regenerate itself without the need for a procreation. Like it's just entered in. So, you know, I think it is possible. That's something cool that everyone that's listening to this definitely look into fish falls. It's really like kind of mind blowing. You know how just.
Bobby, have you heard of fish falls? Is that phenomenon?
I have not. I've heard, you know, manna from heaven in the Bible, obviously, but also I have seen them stalk lakes, which is where they take an airplane and just dump a bunch of fish in a lake. Have you ever seen that? It's but what I'm getting to is it's so much different because like that's like almost like dropping a concrete block into the lake, whereas like raining fish, you couldn't get that effect dropping them from the sky like that. Is what I was getting at. So you know what I'm going to be doing while I'm killing my afternoon pre-show today, which is thanks, Brandon, not exploring the six. Not running through the six with my woes. It's going to be looking into fish. Yes, I'm probably going to talk about that for my 6-minute set tonight. So my piece of shit, Pat's going to be Brandon. It was going to be the kids and all the kids on field trips that are going and are not documenting it. You know what I mean? We heard everybody's flocking there. They're giving us 2 updates a week. Get your high school news team to go and put out a report. They should be updating it. Then you get some school credit. It's just not lazy teachers taking the day off and everybody wins. But now Bobby, I got to fish falls.
Go ahead. Yes, fish falls. But what you're not understanding the big picture, Bobby. You understand because now that they've cut down to 2 updates a week, and we, POS Mornings, give out 3 updates a week. We are the #1 leading news source on Charlotte the Stingray news in America. We have now become that because we give out 3 updates a week. We start every show with Charlotte. You know, we have nothing, and our updates are based off what I read from their updates or anyone else that's writing anything of it. But I know they're watching. And Brenda Raymer, I'm fucking looking at you son of a fucking bitch, ripping people off with your fake aquatics and all this shit. She's now going to steal. When this baby happens, when she fakes it and does whatever happens with this thing, and they need a new way for her to Ringling Brothers people into her stupid mountain town, you know what they're going to do, Bobby and Brandon? Fish falls. Brandon just gave them their fucking idea. They're going to have a lady stand on top of the fucking mountain and throwing fish like that guy on the Muppet Show and just fucking gutting fish at people. They're going to go, holy shit, this town is aquatic.
I wish I could refute that, but it's the most perfectly put together theory I've ever heard. I will say we will not just make up updates. In fact, do you know when Charlotte's putting out her updates? Because we will call the aquarium and be like, hey, inside scoop, Charlotte, okay? Cool, thanks. Got to put it out on my podcast.
Yes, I just like the fact that Brandon was able to break the news that Henderson is real. Because I was even thinking that the town wasn't real. Then Brandon's like, no, I've been.
I knew it was because when I was in Wilmington last week, anytime I brought it up, the story, nobody knew about the pregnant stingray, but when I was like, it's in Henderson, they were like, oh, don't go to Henderson.
Henderson, it's like Hills have eyes country, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. They were like, "You don't belong there, buddy. We saw you freak out in your Buick Encore getting here."
No, by the way, if I was gonna open, that would work. If I was gonna open a shop in that town now, tying it in with the fish and what Brandon just said, gills have eyes is my new fish place. That is, it's just fish with one eye. That's it. I sell nothing but one-eyed fish and gills have eyes.
That'll be next to my newspaper, which is called Brenda Lies, and it's just me covering how she makes up everything about her aquarium. I'm just gonna be the Alex Jones of Henderson. Brenda is lying to you. She's turning the stingrays gay.
She's turning the stingrays hermaphroditic.
Well, now we could yell. Not only are stingrays gay, but also now the stingrays are sluts. Like, they're just sluts out there. They're fucking sharks.
This is what happens when you let a lesbian run an aquarium.
We don't know that she's a lesbian. We definitely know she's a lesbian. We don't know for sure that she's a lesbian. Like, there's no way she's not a lesbian.
Yeah.
We don't have boots on the ground to know. We don't have lesbian Northampton, Massachusetts boots on the ground to tell us that she's that. We don't have the combat boots that she wears as a lesbian running that fish tank. But if you're a woman running a fish tank and telling people that a stingray is pregnant, and that's important, more important than men, that somebody doesn't need a man, like Brandon said before, I'm not saying you're a lesbian, but I'm saying you're a lesbian. This seems like a whole thing, like a woman's right thing. Like when Ruth Stingray Ginsburg is born, that's the name of this when it comes out. It's going to be the most powerful stingray of all time.
Much like Alex Jones, people say I just make up my stories with no facts, like Brenda being a lesbian. But I have facts. I've done the research. Brandon, you went to Henderson, North Carolina. Did you fuck Brenda?
I did not.
Okay, she's clearly a lesbian then, Pat. Could you not fuck Brandon if he was in your town? Especially Marine Brandon, 6'9", walking around all shirtless.
This was a long time ago when I think Brenda was Jacques Cousteau studying the aquatic. Obviously, she was out there becoming the master of the ocean. She's basically Aquaman.
Getting her PhD in sink marine biology.
Yes. She's like, did you know that Dawn cleans off geese when they have fucking oil on it? Like, yeah, we all know that, bitch. That's the one thing you know? That you can clean your dishes and your duck with the fucking same soap.
You know, that's funny you say that about the Dawn, because in the Dawn commercials, they show the ducks and the geese with the oil on them. But it's not like they went to somewhere where there's ducks and geese with oil on them. They took perfectly healthy ducks and geese and put oil on them. Fucking fuck Dawn.
I don't know if you know this, Brandon. Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
No, please go, Pat.
I don't know if you know this, but that actually is not the case. Those ducks were wearing blackface, and it's awful, and we had to stop them. So what they did was Dawn got involved and said, well, we'll spin it. We want to keep these ducks working, because you got to keep, in Hollywood, you got to keep all your ducks in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our time.
So basically, you're saying
say,
the ducks are prime minister of this country I'm in right now? That's a deep cut. But what I was going to say
no,
is
it's not that deep. Everyone knows Justin Trudeau wears fucking blackface, and he wore it so many times that when they asked him about it, and they said, "What about that time you wore blackface?" and he paused, and they're like, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "You're denying." He's like, "No, I just can't remember which time you're talking about." He wore it so much.
Turns out that's the national sport of Canada, not curling.
He called it a high school prank.
I wish they would combine the herbal essence commercials with the Dawn Duck commercials. So it's just them cleaning the ducks, but the ducks are having like a really good time.
Yeah.
You know, the herbal
ducks are looking sexy as fuck.
Yeah,
ducks look back and like, hey.
It's just a woman doing her orgasm part of the commercial, and then it cuts to a duck just like, and then back to the women again. Herbal essence.
I got to DJ for a Dawn commercial. Our company was hired to provide sound because there was this town in New Jersey that Dawn sponsored.
I remember when you went to this.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yes.
They sponsored this giant like dinner, and they took one road in the town. It was like a downtown road. They shut it down, and they just put picnic tables all the way down, like one long picnic table. And we set up speakers all up and down the road. And they had Tia. What's her name? I think it's Tia. She was
Tia Tequila.
No, the other one. She was in all those like 227 shows or whatever. The black lady.
Tootie?
Was it Tia Mallory?
Maybe that's her name. I gotta look it up, but I have a picture with her somewhere.
From Tia and Tamara, the twin movies.
Jackie?
Was this when Dove was hiring all their plus size models? Because I know you said it was a real big dinner. Is that what you meant? And then it was just like the March of the Pigs. You played the baby elephant sound as all the models came in.
No, they just I wish that was the case. That would have been great. Here's a
I'm looking at the cast of 227. There's no one named Tia.
Oh, Tia Mowry, Mowry.
Boom.
Bobby got it.
Boom. Who's your gossip hound? It's your boy, Bob. Big shout, Bob.
So
She was one of the
Tia
twins.
Mowry.
She's one of the twins from that Disney show. She has a sister, Tamara.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm looking at her now. Oh, she didn't age good.
And they washed all.
She's 45
with one bottle of Dawn.
That's awesome.
And there was like, hundreds of people. And yeah, it was cool. I got to hang out in there and she was hosting it or whatever. We didn't make it to the commercial because the commercial was just like showing people eating, and stuff. And saying, we took one bottle of Dawn. I'm like, where the hell's Tia and me? What the hell?
We took all these fat pigs we just hired and fed them a nice barbecue meal. But guess what? We were able to clean it all with one bottle of Dawn.
We stuffed them all up with some GMO pasta.
Speaking of stuffing with GMOs, I'm so glad. That actually brings us to our next story.
Oh.
Segue.
So, Pat and I have been concerned that our coverage of Charlotte in particular has inspired a generation of, shall we say, amateur scientists. Because, let's be honest, they're not really doing real things. And recently, a man was arrested in Texas and sentenced to 90 years in prison for trying to create a new species of sheep. And why was he busted? Well, apparently you can't import a bunch of gallons of giant lamb semen from Asia to artificially inseminate.
Wait. We can't do that?
No. This man was busted with gallons. Wow. Gallons.
Yeah, cancel the order. All right.
The article, I need to emphasize this enough. The article did not specify how many. It just said gallons.
Gallons, like with an S.
Yeah, and if it was 2 or 3, yeah, it would have been 3 gallons. But the fact that they could not quantify it makes me think it was a lot. Basically, his goal was to create giant sheep for trophy hunters. It's a big thing. If you want to catch a giant ram, you go to some dude's property, you get to shoot one, you pay $10,000. They take a picture, the whole thing. So he was trying to create these giant sheep for all these trophy hunters, and got busted because somebody was like, that's a lot of semen. So who's the piece of shit in the story? Is it the guy who's trying to play Jurassic Park and create new monsters in his basement? Is it Charlotte for inspiring people to try to find new, fun ways to get things pregnant? Is it the trophy hunters? Part of hunting is that the beast can fight back. Trophy hunting is kind of dumb. Is it the guy whose job it is at the post office to regulate how many gallons of ram semen from Asia you import? Pat, we'll kick it to you first. Who's the piece of shit in this story? Go.
Okay. It's not Charlotte. It's not for inspiration comes from the craziest places. You never know who your muse is going to be. You know what I mean? John Hinckley's still out there singing music. He was inspired. He's been told not to be inspired. Basically, you can't help what gets you going. So that's fine. It's not the person at the post office. They're just doing the job, man. You know what I mean? They can't help it. Ever since 9/11, before 9/11, you could ship out as much fucking ox semen as you want to. You could just go crazy. But then those stupid terrorists, quote unquote, fake people, flew on all that. Those, I don't even know this, but when we had the plane hit the towers, there was also something that hit in the small part in Pennsylvania. Everybody knows that. There's another part that was hit there, and that part had all the ox semen. And when that part hit there, that actually made mutant people that grew up to be Shane Gillis and all his friends that moved to Austin. So it was crazy that it spawned all that stuff. So they kind of outlawed that. So it's not them. It's the guys doing his job. You go to TSA, you go to the airport, you have a little water. They tell you can't have it. You put a little semen in there. You can have that much. You can't have that much. You can't have gallons. You can have just enough. Just enough to get you by. And by the way, all you need is a little bit. Take it from a guy who has 2 kids. You don't need gallons. All you need is a little, and you can have proof that you had some sex. It's fine. Sometimes they say Puerto Ricans just walk by you and not even shoot semen at you, and you get pregnant. So sometimes just a whiff of it. The piece of shit in this is the people that canceled the order, that stopped this from happening. Because there are people out there in this day and age, during COVID, I don't know if you know this, but during COVID was very important if you had your CDL. We needed more truck drivers more than ever. And people had to then take on jobs, and they learned to support their family. Now that COVID pulled back, they started losing those jobs. So a trip like this, a guy who's driving truck, driving rig all the way with all that bull semen, and then he gets cut out all the way, he's losing money. He can't feed his family. And if he can feed them, he's probably feeding them bull semen, which is gross. That's all he's got left. Because they're not just going to pay him for like what he was supposed to do. We have a friend, Max, who watches the show all the time. He drives truck all the time. He hates it when his gigs get canceled and he can't get out there. If he has to haul semen from Texas to Idaho, he doesn't want to lose that semen gig. His kids can't eat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's the people that cut. It's big semen for cutting this out and ruining the little man.
I like that. I got to tell you, your story about the TSA and being able to bring semen reminded me of my Friday experience where I got scanned and the dude was like, "Do you have anything in your pockets?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "We're going to have to put you down." And he showed me the heat monitor where you could perfectly see 2 balls and a shaft. And I was like, "I can tell you what that is, buddy." He was like, "We're going to have to pat you down." And I was like, oh, okay, but I don't know if you know anatomy. I can look at that and tell you what it is. And he was like, no, we can go to the back room. And I was like, "No, we can pat me down right here." And I made him do it.
Yeah, we're not going to the back room.
And then he hit my penis 3 times. So I think he was flirting with me.
3rd time's a charm. That's what I hear.
Right. Once is an accident. Twice is just confirming. 3rd time, you're just playing with it. Isn't that what Blink-182 said?
Yeah, and four times you're jerking off, right? Isn't that the old saying?
Oh, thank God he didn't get the 4 times. I would have had to even to get through TSA, you know? It's been a long time coming. Brandon, who's your piece of shit?
Well, before I say that, I just want to add to what Pat was saying about 9/11 because they also people.
That's something you want to say about 9/11? No.
How does jet fuel melt steel? No.
It doesn't melt semen though.
Turns out
they were
the oxidizing agent.
There was anthrax that was mailed. Remember all that happened? So
yes.
That's what started the cracking down on the postal service. I think they were probably just looking for drugs, but I think the piece of shit in this story is the guy in Asia. You know, it's probably Thailand. The guy that went around and collected all the human men's semen to sell to this guy, because there's no way if you order semen from Asia and it's supposed to be animal semen. I mean, it's definitely people semen. You know, there's probably went to all the bars in Thailand with like a big jug and just was like standing around where all the lady boys were or whatever the heck they get up to in Thailand.
It is amazing what they get out of those lady boys. Those lady boys export more stuff than people imagine. Like they can get you fake animal jizz. They can be a lady sometimes. There's so much they can do.
Yeah, and how could you tell what type of semen it is if it's from a lady boy? It's probably, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I'm sure it's.
I don't want to get controversial, Brandon, but I think there's only one kind of semen. I hate to break it to everybody, and I hate to sit there and say there's not 47 genders, but I got a fucking weird hunch that it came from a male. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a little fucking crazy. There might not have been men on the moon, but there are men jizzing all the time, and it's not a lady.
Yes, and if you order semen from Asia, it's definitely man cum.
If you order semen, kill yourself. No, I'm sorry, undead. Was that unalive? What's the saying?
Yeah.
Unalive yourself. I don't want to get stricken by big jizz.
I just think it would be so funny if it was like, "Sir, why did you import all this human semen?" And he was like, no, that's bull semen. They're like, "No, we did a test. It's clearly Asian-based Thailand lady boy jizz." And the guy's like, "No, now I'm gay."
Or he goes, whoa, I know you think it's bull semen. Let me show you this video called "My Wife Fucked a Bull." He's like, oh, it's that guy.
Oh my God, how many times they fucked my wife? There's so many gallons. They can't even put a number on it.
And then the TSA guy walks through the hole, I hit this button, and he hits the button and goes, I was like, oh, really? You gotta do the sound effect? Yeah.
For me, the piece of shit in the story was going to be the guy jerking off the bulls in Thailand, but now it just seems like an American on a tourism visa. So I'm going to say Charlotte is the piece of shit. If she had just had her babies quickly, it would have been over. And, now people are saying we got to fake things. You shouldn't mess with genetics. That's how you get weird diseases. Like sometimes you get a guy who has a lab over in China and starts experimenting on a disease, then suddenly there's a world outbreak and he's the foremost authority on it. And nobody goes, I've seen this horror movie 19 times. He's the bad guy. So you just got to be careful playing with
Bobby,
the.
why are you bringing up AIDS right now?
what was it? AIDS? Was it? It's amazing how many times I've heard this story before.
Bubonic plague, anyone? Put on a mask. You don't get bubonic plague.
Did anyone bring up the fact, by the way, that this stingray is named Charlotte, which is a town in North Carolina that is not
Right.
Henderson? Right? It's like,
Yes.
all right.
You can't name it Henderson the mom. You can't be.
I mean, Brenda tried. Come on, it's a perfectly lovely lady name. Like ladies like you, Brenda, like other ladies.
All right, here we go. Let's use her logic in our smarts right now. And people in the chat, if you want to help us, you can. There's going to be 4 pups born from Charlotte the Stingray out of this. 4 no daddy babies. What do we think they're going to name the babies? And then what do we think we should name the babies instead? 'Cause I think with this much coverage, we should be allowed to name 1 baby. So that's what we're gonna do. We get to name 1, and then they name 3. So if we're going that route, obviously right away, if there's already Charlotte the mom, there's gonna be one called Raleigh, right? There has to be a Raleigh.
How about Hendra?
Hendra's an awful fucking name. It will be. Maybe you have to look at the ugly one and go, "You're a Hendra."
Or if it's a guy, you could call it Henry for Henderson.
It could be, or Harry for Harry and the Hendersons. You're going like deep cut type move like that. Ray's pretty simple.
How about
It's
Steve?
the Stingray. Steve Irwin. That's a deep cut. It's a little fucked up.
So was the cut into Steve.
That's like naming your Jewish baby Adolf. You know what I mean? Like you don't really name it after the thing that wanted to take you out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we know what we're gonna name ours. Clearly the N-word.
Jesus. Oh no, I did not know it was clear. I wasn't aware that was clear.
It's either gonna be that or the F word. Or
Which
the
F
C
word?
Bag.
Which C word?
Say it on YouTube, cunt.
Oh, I thought you were going to say French Canadian.
That would have been funnier than what I had, Brandon. Wish you would have stepped up to the plate a second ago.
I want to watch you embarrass yourself.
Tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. then.
Now wait, we're not thinking because it is North Carolina. Would one be either Dean Smith or Michael Jordan? Would they just name it their favorite people of all fucking times?
Seeing as it's Henderson, I'm gonna say those 2 people probably aren't the town's favorite people to ever come from North Carolina. A Coach K. What was that?
Yeah, I'm guessing there's not too many black people in the mountains.
No, exactly. Who's the one who stopped up? This is Christian Leitner.
Oh yeah, Christian Leitner. There you go. Krzyzewski or whatever, the guy from Duke, right? Is that yeah.
Holy shit, Bobby! You just named not only did you name the perfect name, that should be. Forget the Immaculate Conception, okay? Because it's a Jesus baby, and it was born under like the religious thing, and it's not been born on time. It is Christian Leitner.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Holy shit!
We did it. We won. We broke the Charlotte story.
That's what they did. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to do a fake thing. They're like, well, what do we do? Usually we need to make money in this town. We just get Christian Leitner. Like, wait a minute. What if we have a religious baby in his lane? That's a Christian Leitner. It's like, you're the second guy to ever say that. Are you also retarded like that guy, Pato? Yes, I'm also retarded like him.
Speaking of that, we know these
I guess
babies
someone
aren't.
was late. Yeah, giant sheep come.
But one of the babies isn't gonna come. They're not gonna come out good, right? Like when you clone yourself, it doesn't come out super healthy. So one of them's got to be
Yeah,
a
when you're
retard.
cloning yourself and then 4 versions of it come out, yeah, there's got to be a couple goofballs in the bunch, I would guess.
So one of them should be the retard.
Ray, so all right, so we got Raytard,
Sting retarded.
Henro. Henro! That's what Raytard says, Henro! Henro! Fucking Monroe. All right, but okay, so what if we're picking a name we think they're gonna name it for real? What do you think is the number one? We're going to get one right. Remember, this is a woman that's kind of a dope. She's got a stupid stingray. She wants to keep people coming to see them. What do you name them? Now, I would think that because of the pandemonium of everyone coming to the town and rushing to see this, kind of like something else, Beatlemania, I think you name the 4 pups Paul, John, George, and Ringo. Even if they're girls, because you do that. And then the Stingrays instead of the Beatles. And you tour them around.
Or if you're going with the Bible theme, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Well, if we're going to do that, we have to do Barabbas. We have to do the priest Melchizedek. We need better names. You know what I mean? You can't just fucking do those.
Nebuchadnezzar.
I want Peter, Paul, John, and the priest Melchizedek. That's the cool one in the back. You know, like Pit Pats and shit.
There you go.
What's that face you're making, Bobby? Don't make the face of the priest Melchizedek.
No, that's my thinking face. I think they're probably gonna call one Bartholomew.
Ay caramba. You like Bart Simpson.
Yeah, Bartholomew.
You think mountain folks can spell Bartholomew?
I think that'll probably be one.
By the way, Aaron just won. Ready?
There you go.
Shemp is one of my favorite names that's never been given to anyone ever. Have you ever met another Shemp? What the fuck? Is Shemp short for something?
Shemperson?
Shitty hemp.
Shemperson. Shemperson, come here and clean your room.
Shemperson, get your ass in here.
Shemp. I think isn't that how black people say shrimp?
No. No.
Yo, let me eat some fried shrimps.
No.
Shemp's on that po' boy. Shemp. It was already done enough there. Mo. I've met Mo's, a couple of Mo's. Larry's, I've met quite a lot of Larry's. Not even met many Curly's. The Curly's gone like, what's even worse than that? I don't know, Shemp. And then after that, they're like, I don't know, Joe. Like, all right, you're not even trying Joe? No one remembers fucking Joe. They also sometimes Curly Joe, but he was just a fatter version of Curly.
Remember Mo? We talked about in that last story with the guy with all the cum. He was a real Mo.
It was simple. It was right there, and you hit out of the gay park, Bobby. You really fucking did.
I was waiting for it.
All right, I guess we should keep the fun going and keep having these fun stories. If you guys heard, who's been following the Michigan school shooter court cases? Anyone? Me, I have. If you don't know, Ethan Crumley was the one of the latest school shooters. But this now in the court case is one of the first times ever in history that we are trying the parents of a child that did something as well. And in separate cases, the mother, Jennifer, and the father, James, have both been tried and found guilty of negligence and murder and all that. And the whole family now is in jail. As of yesterday, all 3 of them, the son, the father, and the mother, have all been put in jail. Now they're doing this to start doing you can tell what it really is. Yes, you can go down a whole parenting rabbit hole, and you can be the person that judges and says, "How do you not know your kid's doing this and that? How do you not see these signs?" You could say whatever you want. When the kid was writing this or doing that, The parents should have known and stopped it. If you've ever been a parent, if you've ever been a kid, you do know that when that relationship is there, nobody wants to believe that the person in their life is somebody that's capable of this thing. There's no way a parent would ever just sit there and, no matter what, you get, oh, was the gun that the father had bought and yet was teaching the son how to use, it wasn't locked up properly. You never think your son's going to be the one that's going to fucking do that thing. Your mother, who's seeing all these notes and things, you never think it's going to be. And I understand you're saying all that, but like, how many times have your parents in your life told you, hey, don't do this or that, and you went out and did the fucking thing anyway? It's not like everybody always listens. I understand it, but at the end of the day, and I know it's awful, and I'm not saying anything bad about the murder, but they got the kid. It's not like they didn't get the kid. The kid didn't off himself or anything like that. The kid is going to be in jail for the rest of his natural fucking life. He's never going to see freedom again. He did an awful thing. Awful thing. He shouldn't be let out. I understand that. But the fact that now his parents now have to go to jail because we have to just prove a point. And to me, I feel that that's coming from parents that are other parents or people that are judgmental. Like, well, we got to fucking call people out. That wouldn't happen to me. But do you understand the slippery slope we just started? Every time someone does something, we can now blame people that know them as well. If Brandon is on the show here and he's like joking around about something, I'm going to go out in the woods, I'm smoking a little weed, and I'm going to go shoot a squirrel. And then we're like, yeah, go shoot that squirrel. It'll be crazy if you shot that squirrel. We're all both like, yeah, you shoot the squirrel. And then Brandon goes out there to shoot a squirrel and he misses and he shoots a guy who's like hiking. And then, so then they arrest Brandon for killing the guy. But then they turn around and go, wait a minute, on that podcast, Bobby and Pat both said, yeah, shoot that squirrel. And if they didn't encourage him, if they said don't shoot the squirrel, then he wouldn't have shot the squirrel. So now Pat and Bobby have to go to fucking jail too. Where does this end where we start saying like everything there? You got your thing. We learned from that. They lost their son for the rest of their lives. They know that their son killed other people's families. Why do we have to go through all this shit? So who's the piece of shit in the story? Is it having trials for the parents as well and going after that for the? Because if we're going to do that for the kids, does that mean once they turn 18 and every decision is theirs and we don't just blame parents forever? Why can't we blame parents and people? If a guy's 40 years old and he's a child molester but he lives at home, do we blame the parents because he lives at home, or is he too old enough to make his own decisions? You know what I mean? How far do we go with all these fucking terrible fucking things? Is it the courts for doing this thing? Is it the parents for not being better parents and not making these stances or whatever? Is it the kid? Maybe you shouldn't shoot people. But like, it's obviously the kid. I don't think we can go with the kid. I think it's more so. Is it people who are like, yes, this is fair, this is just? Is it the jury for finding these people guilty when they didn't kill the kids? Okay, they may have been negligent, but they didn't kill these children. They didn't go to the school and do the thing. Who's the piece of shit in the story? Or is it me for bumming everybody out with kid murder? Who's the piece of shit in the story? Brandon, go first.
I would say the piece of shit in the story is whoever coined the term school shooter. It's very misleading because the guy was killing kids, right? He didn't shoot. I mean, maybe he missed and he hit the school. No, I would say, this is kind of it reminds me of something else. I just did a podcast with a couple of friends from Germany, and they were telling me one's from here in America. He lives in Germany now because he's in the army and he just lived there. And another one is half American or whatever. So they speak English and everything. But they were saying that they can't talk about what happened in World War II unless it's the official narrative online, or they could get arrested. How crazy is that? So like if on my show we were joking around about some things that happened during, you could get arrested. And I think
we're seeing numbers. These numbers were slightly escalated. If you were to say that on your podcast, he would go to prison.
Yeah, he could at least they could get arrested. Yeah, for questioning the narrative.
What happened in Germany?
Exactly. I have no idea.
Well, that's their official narrative.
If you say nothing happened, you could probably get.
Bobby's like, well, Pat, that leads us to our fourth.
But anyway,
the concentration camp. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think if you are a parent, you have to really lock up your guns really well, like at least twice, and you got to or teach your kids the proper way. So I really blame television for this, and parents for just letting television raise their children, and not teaching them right and wrong. So maybe they do deserve to get arrested.
Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying, Brandon. Now, just because I watched the court cases and all that stuff, The father was the one that bought the gun that was responsible for that. And this gun did come with one of those early, even without you. Yes, you should have an unlocker and all those things, right? But they even had that little thing that comes with some of those guns that you can like put in the bottom and it locks it, so you
The
can't do it.
trigger
You have to have
lock.
a combination. Right. The father forgot to put it on. You know what I mean? And the day the guy took it. Now, even if you want to blame the father for negligence, that's fine. But then why the mother too? You know what I mean? You already got someone who did it. And if you want to go as far as step as saying, well, the gun shouldn't have been around there, whatever, then okay, you get one. I don't think you should get either. But then both of them can't be responsible. Because then who else is next? Like anyone else who knew they had guns, they went to ranges. This kid was underage, but he was going 15, going to ranges and shooting and learning. So should somebody at the range have known that just look in this kid's eyes and go, that's one of the guys who's going to shoot school shootings and stuff. How far do we go with this fucking thing? It's like
Yeah.
I get it, but now we're just going to punish. To me, it just feels like another way to put more people in jail because
Yeah.
the jail's a business. I know we're using it under the guise of, hey, we're here to make sure that kids are safe. People need to be punished. But now it's just more ways to put people in jail. And the less people that we have out here, the less people we have to like sheep and control out here that we put into the jails. It's just we're gonna find more and more and more fucking ways to blame 8 people for one crime is insane.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that point. I just think the parents or maybe the dad's a piece of shit, but then I don't think it warrants everybody getting arrested and being thrown in jail. I think the parents are going to suffer enough just because their kid is going to be in jail for the rest of their life, and now they're going to be looked at as these pariahs of society, right? Because
Yeah, well, they already are. Like the poor parents of the 4 kids who got killed in the school shooting, not only had to go to the kids' trial, then they had to go to each one of these separate trials and relive this over and over and over again. You know, it's like it's been there. So even the parents have gotten their due or whatever you're looking for. Your kid's not gonna. I'm not saying this really, but your kid's not gonna come back no matter how many people get arrested. Maybe I was wrong and they arrest the 7th person. The kid comes back like, see, Pat, it was 7. You didn't know. 7.
yeah,
Bobby was a piece of shit.
too many people in jail. Sorry, go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it is a tough line, right? Because on one hand, if your kid's like, hey, I'm going to school tomorrow and I'm going to shoot up the school, like, do you have some responsibility to step in? You know what I mean? If you and like didn't things come out where like they knew the gun was missing but didn't call the cops until later in the day and things like that? Like, so
Right.
I get like you might have some responsibility, but I do think it's really a bad message to put out there in the world. Like, hey kids, do you hate your parents? Here's a good way to get them in big trouble. You know, like it's really not a great idea to be like anything you do now is held onto your parents because most of the time these kids are rebelling against their parents. It's not going to be a deterrent. It's going to be the opposite. It's just been incentivized. Instead of getting this name out of the media, we've had it in the media for another 2 months now, and all we've done is more attention for a school shooter, which is just like Brandon said, going to inspire more school shooters. So for me, the piece of shit in this story is honestly the people who got rid of bullying. Like, that used to be a healthy outlet. Now what happens is these kids, like, let's say we were looking at this show and you guys are bullying me. Eventually one day I'd get sick of it and punch one of you, and we'd probably all end up being friends and have a good laugh afterwards. You know what I mean? Now what happens is you aren't allowed to have that response and reaction. You two keep harassing me online until I feel so powerless that the only thing I can do is this. And it's terrible. It's sick. It's a mental illness, but it's been created because there aren't healthier outlets. You know what I mean? So for me, it's this whole don't bully. Everybody's got to be nice, because all you do is create a in team and an out team.
Well, you hear that, Chet Gibson? We were supposed to have a laugh after you punched me in 7th grade. Where was our fucking laugh, Chet Gibson? Anyway.
Did Chet shoot up the school?
No, because he had girl hands.
Then I think you're a hero, Pat. Sounds to me like you saved the day.
Fucking piece
You
of
were
shit.
basically the Jesus of your high school. You bullied Chet, let him take all that anger out, and paid for the sins of your whole class.
No, he bullied me. I wasn't he bullied me. I didn't get my fucking laugh afterwards, fucker.
I was going to say, I think the real piece of shit is the people who are making kids go to schools. You know, I mean, I get it if
Fucking
you're a
shit.
parent and stuff, but the whole schooling system, if you want to stop school shooters, just get rid of schools. Raise your own fucking kids and teach them. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to have a kid, be responsible.
Yeah,
Having
like
no kids.
instead
Take
of
that,
going
Bridgeport, Connecticut.
That's right.
instead of going into the school, find a nice tower, good distance away. People won't know who did it. You know,
Yeah,
that
whatever
kind of
happened to
thing.
tower shootings? You know, they're nice and clean. You could pick off exactly who you want to. You know, there's no.
Yeah, it's not mass casualty. You might be able to get away with it for a while. I
Yeah,
mean, you
there was
mentioned
no
the
problems at colleges with that. Fucking picking people up. Now, by the way, Bobby, I feel bad for not remembering which guest it was. It might have been Lewis. I forget who was on our show when we first kind of talked about the one of these trials, the one with the mother, and his response, which was funny, but he was kind of what you were saying, and he was saying something to the effect of that'd be a great argument as a child, like your mom yells at you and your dad's like, you can't go to the movies or whatever. Say, all right, well, fine. I'm going to movies. I'm going to shoot a school tomorrow. Deal with that. You're going to jail. Like, so it really can almost become like a threat thing where they're like, with my parents, like, what are you're nuts? What are you, a school shooter? And the kid's like, oh, good idea. I guess he's going to jail. Where I'm not a school shooter. We're school shooters. Like, that's what it becomes. It's like when someone says, wait, you have AIDS? Like, no. We have AIDS. Like, you know, that's how it kind of becomes. So, yeah, I don't mean to get all like political with that kind of thing there, but the piece of shit in this is the system that we have. Like, we keep just trying to find every way to punish people. We don't even give a fuck about rehabilitating people anymore. There's a 15-year-old kid who, yes, awful things that he did. But if you think about planning and figuring things out, I'm not saying that you go down the sci-fi route of you take this kid, put him into a military boot camp, you teach him things, so we have somebody who now knows how to maneuver his way through a terrible situation. You can say what you want, but at least you're teaching him a skill and you teach responsibility and stuff like that and repercussions. And I'm not saying you want to do that, but I'm saying just letting him rot and letting the parents rot. What are we doing? Like, what is it? What is it doing? Is it making some other people feel safe? He wasn't going to go back to school ever. I don't know if you know that. He wasn't going to have another class. Like, you're safe.
pets. I know what you were doing last night. You were watching the Suicide Squad, weren't you?
I did not watch Suicide Squad last night. I
I
have seen Suicide
Elite
Squad.
team, bad people.
mean,
Yeah.
the Suicide Squad or military is a good idea, but I think we should make it into a game show, like Running Man style. Remember that movie? Yeah.
We don't need to kill them.
Let those kids, you know, we'll give them a choice. Do you want to sit in jail for the rest of your life, or do you want to try to make it through, you know, Escape from New York type situation with people hunting you? And you could let the parents of the kids that were killed hunt them.
Yeah, but what do you
boy.
do with the parents
Shooter's
that are
got a
going
gun.
to jail? Do they have to play too?
Shooter got a gun.
You could give them a choice. Maybe they could cover their son, or they could leave guns out for their son in the terrible world so he can find them. They could sprinkle them like Easter eggs so he can find them.
Because Dad's so good at leaving guns. He's the best in the business at leaving guns.
Much like the wildest game, I think that's going to go bad when one of the prisoners gets a weapon. Like, we've all read the wildest game. What's that book, Brandon? I know. I feel like you know it. Yeah, The Greatest Game, where now we've got 3 school shooters who never had a friend in their life that are unified by one thing, survival, and they've got guns. It's not going to go well for the victim's parents.
Well, you know, you could put Marines in with them or somebody or SWAT team. But this reminds me of the South Park episode with the molester. You know, I just said the molester word and my parents went away. You know, it's like I just shot up a school. My parents went to jail. Like, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, it's just another weapon in kids' arsenal, which is why teenagers scare the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
I've heard they don't laugh until somebody bleeds.
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby, you got something else? I got another one if you don't have another one, but I got more.
Chemical romance.
Thank you, Brandon, for finally getting it.
I couldn't think of the band.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't know any more lyrics. But do you guys want to do pop culture or science?
Ooh, let's do
Science
science.
is more geography.
Yeah, I'm
All
good at
right.
geography.
Pop culture it is then. Basically, if
Why'd you do that? He wanted science.
I was just fucking around.
I'm gonna shoot up a school now. Just kidding, everybody. A school of fish is what I mean. A school of fish.
In
That's
Hendersonville,
legal.
see
Yeah,
how
Fish fall.
see
The
how
fish will
religious
fall.
Jesus is.
I'm gonna shoot the fish that are falling from the sky.
So we are all familiar. You've got North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, and Antarctica. Those are our 7
You
continents.
forgot Antarctica. How
Maybe.
dare you?
What? And I know we're flirting with danger here, Pat. We got Brandon on. We brought up Atlanta. Not Atlanta.
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
I don't believe in Atlanta at all. Atlanta is not fucking real.
No, but
Grape drink.
basically
Well,
they've found a new continent that they believe is half of Antarctica and half of New Zealand, and it's like connected underwater. And it's first was mentioned when somebody went searching for this lost land. They landed in New Zealand, and the natives weren't nice to him, so he called it a failure. But where he actually landed is, they believe, one of the few areas that's above ground on this underground continent. And they've studied it for years and years, and they've come to the conclusion that there's this 8th continent. And it really, who's the piece of shit in this story? Is it people for caring about continents? Like, come on, what are we doing? Are we going to Pluto up this? I've learned the 7 continents from the time I was in 4th grade. Now I got to remember New Zealandia or some shit. Fuck off. Is it people of New Zealand? They've always said they weren't Australian, and they hate each other. I don't know if you know this. Australians and New Zealanders did not get along, despite being like a stone's throw apart. That said, I am wearing a U.S. baseball cap in Canada, so maybe sometimes you don't like your neighbors. I get it. Or is it me for not carrying or doing more research on this story? Brandon, you love geography and science. We'll kick it to you first.
I think that it's New Zealand is the piece of shit, because they're not telling anybody about Old Zealand, right? You never hear about Old Zealand.
Oh, no.
Should have known. We should have known.
That's the continent. That's the clue. Old Zealand. This is something that's like in my wheelhouse. I like people that say wheelhouse a lot, because I feel like wheelhouse is their wheelhouse. You know, those people that say wheelhouse way too much. Anyway.
What is a wheelhouse?
Yeah, it's a place in a ship where you steer the ship.
And in baseball, it's the zone where you can hit the ball really well.
Yeah. But there definitely is a lot of evidence for another continent. Lemuria, you hear Lemuria, and then you also hear Atlantis, right? So, but I think Atlantis was in the
I don't think Lemaire's that fat. I don't think we should call him a continent at this point.
That guy's got to go on a diet. But yeah, I really do. I think the piece of shit is the historians, or we'll just say the system that refuses to talk about all the history that was in the books before the 1900s, you know, that talked about all this stuff. And
like Tartaria and all that.
Yeah, kind of like Tartaria. But
Yep. Pat, take it there.
But I also think Tartaria is a psyop too. I mean, how can you believe in something called Tartaria, you know?
Tartaria.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just what I call Australia.
Sometimes I think that people that make up these psyops are playing a joke on people, you know, because there are so many people that will like go to war about Tartaria, and they'll like tell you Tartaria is a thing, and you're just like, bro,
Stop saying Tartaria.
You don't know about Tartaria, Pat? Come on, man.
Oh fuck.
The Tartars. Yeah, and the other thing too, I don't think Antarctica is actually a continent.
I'm with you there.
I think there's I'm a realm earther, which is similar to like somebody who thinks that we're in a simulation. It's kind of like that, but I don't think there's a computer that we're actually in. I think it's something we don't understand, and people think it's a computer because our brains work very similar. A computer is actually a analog to a human brain. So that's what we're going to think that we're in, right? So, but I think that Antarctica is just like a ice that's all the way around us. Similar to like a flat Earth map. And I know people are gonna say I'm crazy, but it's fine. But the cool thing though, which you don't have to be crazy to understand, is if you find maps from the 1500s, they show Antarctica and the coastline or whatever, the coastlines that we're supposed to see, but they show them without ice. And it wasn't until we got like ground penetrating radar that we could see through the ice to see that those maps were actually accurate. So in the 1500s, they either had ground penetrating radar or there was no ice in Antarctica. So everything we've been told is pretty much, bullshit. Pretty crazy.
I have my suspicions about Antarctica. Like, especially the fact that it's the one place where nobody's allowed to attack. There are all these weird treaties about it. Can't fly.
Think about World War II and how crazy it was. In the middle of the craziness of World War II, all the countries who were fighting each other got together and made a treaty that nobody would go to Antarctica. It's like,
and at no point nobody tried to get Germany to throw in, stop killing the Jews. That wasn't a negotiating.
No, they were. I think they were egging them on actually, because I know. Which is terrible. You should never kill. Listen, if you have a disagreement with people, you never round them up and kill them, right? Just ignore them. I mean, it's like,
or demonetize them on every platform, make it illegal to say certain words. However you want to do it.
Yeah, well, that also is dangerous ground too, because if you tell people not to say things and you start to kick them off platforms and stuff, there's going to be people who are going to want to hear that message even more, so it's kind of like when you kill a religious leader and you make him into a martyr. It's the same thing. You martyr people on YouTube and then you create these little echo chambers that turn into cults. I don't know if you guys ever looked into online cults though. It's a crazy thing. There's a lot of people,
what would an online cult do, Brandon? Would they give each other cute nicknames?
Have
one leader who maybe opens up a ranch somewhere, everybody's gonna move.
No, I see what you're getting at, and this is something we went through last year. A bunch of people went through this last year because there was a certain person who is a comedian, and I still think he's a really funny guy, but the problem is that I found out it's not always the cult leader, it's the people who start to surround the cult leader and fill their heads with all these things, and they become these true believers. And they ruin it for everybody. So, but yeah.
Is that true? The Pope and many other world leaders went to Antarctica in 2020? They all went there?
I think so, yeah.
I can't confirm
or deny. Some stuff going on in Antarctica. The other crazy thing to look into is flight patterns. If you look at a flight pattern, especially flights that were delayed, flights that were in flight, international flights that had to be grounded or land because of an emergency. If you look on a globe, it doesn't make any sense the way that they're going. And if you put it onto some kind of flat Earth map, which the United Nations symbol is actually a flat Earth map, but if you use that, the flights make a lot more sense. And I can't understand it. And they also won't allow flights over Antarctica. So if you wanted to fly from Australia to Chile or something, it might be quicker to go over Antarctica, but they say that you'll disturb the penguins if you fly over Antarctica. So
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. So I have no idea what's there. But if you guys want, if we can mount a POS mission, we should sail a ship down there. We could probably get Dion. I'm sure he would be on board. He could be our ship captain, and we could sail down there.
My captain.
And we could podcast the whole way, and we could see what happens when we get down there.
Yeah, Pat. I other than the people of Tartaria, who's your piece of shit in the story?
Well. There's a couple. But first of all, the fact that no one's called the combination of New Zealand and Antarctica Zoolander, that's what it should be. I just like that we would just call it Zoolander now. First of all, I don't think you should count it. Let's all just call it for what it is. Brandon, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Bobby, every time we do a show, makes up a fake story. And Bobby knew you were going to be on. So that sounds like a story that Bobby would just do so we could kill a half hour that you would go off on the whole thing, which thank you, sir, you did. And it was amazing. But I think that story is bullshit because I think you would already know about that. So maybe there are some things they found underneath, but I don't think that this story that Bobby told per se is real and he made it up. Well, let's just say that he did for a minute. And it was real. First of all, if it's underwater, it doesn't count. You know what I mean? I hate to say it. It's not a continent if it's not up for us to be on. If they do find Atlantis, it might have been a continent, but we wouldn't add it in, so you wouldn't have to worry, Bobby, about your new math and adding your eighth continent. Bobby's walking to Antarctica right now. Anyway, so I don't think it would matter in any way, shape, or form. And more importantly, if people ain't living on it, I don't count it as a continent. I think I've always just recognized 6 anyway. That's all I count. I don't do that. And by the way, we're talking about Hitler, by the way, and saying the Germans and all that. Why didn't they just give them Antarctica? There's no Jews there. They could go there. They wouldn't have to kill anybody. It would have been fine. But yeah, the piece of shit in this story really is Bobby. But if this story is real, then it is the people that found it. You know what I mean? Go hug your kids. Fucking go get a hobby. What are we doing looking for shit underwater? Stay out of underwater. Haven't we learned enough from those people like months back with the submarine that were going to visit the Titanic and then had the same demise as the Titanic? We don't need to be down there. We have land for a reason. There's some scary shit down there. We don't know all the shit down. If there's no land down there, we don't want to know who's living on that land down there. And I don't even know where New Zealand is. I kind of just learned today geography. I didn't even know New Zealand was near Antarctica. I thought Antarctica was too far away from New Zealand. It tells you what I know. But the piece of shit in the story is either Bobby for making up the story or me for not having any education whatsoever and only laughing when someone says Tartaria.
Well, I would like to tell you I'm the piece of shit in the story, Pat, but I don't think I am. I think this is actually
What?
a true story, and that.
Wait, stop. Bobby just said, I think this is actually a true story. Only you would know since you read the fucking story. How do you think it's a true story? There might be facts in there that other people have said, but is this a story that you found today? Were you actually reading for something, or did you just fucking grasp at straws thinking Brandon would do this, therefore making it a fucking fake story?
Well, I actually did the research, and this is a real story. So might make it easier to figure out which of my other stories is fake, but that's okay.
They definitely have found a lot of stuff that we don't hear about. And the other thing too, I might be into Atlantis and all that stuff, but I don't think it happened like 12,000 years ago. I think it happened a lot more recent to our time than they really want to say. I think it was more in the range of like maybe like 2500 BC or something like that, maybe even sooner. There's a lot of evidence to support that too. If that was the case, there's a misunderstanding. I don't know if you guys have heard of that whole theory of like Graham Hancock and the Younger Dryas theory and like a comet that hit Earth 13,000 years ago and caused all that stuff.
I am up on that.
Well, you'll love this then. It's already been disproven because that whole theory basically is based on Plato and what Plato said, because Plato was supposed to have firsthand knowledge passed down from his family. And he said it was like 9,000 years ago in his time. But the unit of measurement, which was the shar, is actually an Egyptian unit of measurement, which is a day. It's like it's not a year. So they're counting the shar as a whole year when it's actually really a day. And if that's the case, then it wasn't 12,000 years ago. And that also has been talked about, like people refuted Plato's story, like in his own time. They even said that. They're like, no, you got it wrong. So there's some information for you. Did we lose him?
He's obviously he's in a hotel, so he's probably trying to take the elevator and got stuck for a second. He's probably in the elevator trying to make him a fake fucking story. Now he's trying to move around a little bit, but this guy's lies. He's not even in Toronto. He's in Philadelphia, born and raised. The playground where he spends most of his days. But yeah, Bobby actually just hinted quickly. I don't know if you heard him. He said, "This isn't my fake story," but then you probably know what is. That means Bobby made up the whole semen thing. Bobby just gave us a story on semen and made us talk about semen and chugging around just to lie to us about jizz, which says a lot about Bobby.
Maybe we should have an intervention show with Bobby, pretend it's a POS and be like, Bobby, is there something you want to talk about? You talk about how much you hate women and you love semen stories.
Oh, for gay. I thought you were going to have an intervention about just stop lying.
Oh.
That'd be nice.
I don't know if that's possible.
The gay part, he's got to find love somehow, so I let that go. That's fine. He can have that all he wants. While we're waiting for him to pop back on, Brandon, why don't you let people know, follow you, check you out, all that stuff.
Yes, you could go to the Brandon Bonanza channel on YouTube right here. That's my channel. We have a few different shows there. I have the Over Sharon show. It's the show we do every week with my friend Sharon. And we actually talked about in our last episode, we talked about Bigfoot a whole bunch. So check that out. It just came out yesterday. You can also go to morelawsmoreproblems.com. It's my website I've had now for 11 years. I have a blog on there and memes and all kinds of stuff. But you can also find my videos and everything there. So check that out.
Perfect. I know if you're in Toronto, you can see Bobby somewhere tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, he's gonna be performing there. Tonight I'll be in Derby,
Yup,
Connecticut
yup,
at
yucks. 8 p.m.
yes, Young Guns. I'll be at Riverwalk Social in Derby. There's still some tickets are available for that one. Coming up in I got a bunch of shows coming up all different places. So please just call my social media, find it there. Please hit subscribe, flick the like button, all those kind of fun things. Head over to our Patreon as well. Check that on out. We appreciate you doing that. Um, Brandon, what do you got going on recently? What have you been up to? Anything besides hiking and doing stuff? You've been figuring shit out with tearing it up, or what are you doing?
I've been I went and saw the Dune movie, Dune 2 twice. So if there's anybody that's a fan of Dune or saw the Dune movie, I also did a show with a friend of mine about the differences between the book and the movie. So check that out. And I'm just working on my book again. I wrote a book and I'm working on a second book. The first book is called Shadow Worked. You can get it at shadowworked.com.
And the second one is called Dune 2.
The second one is called, yeah. I'm changing my name to Frank Herbert. And I'm just gonna start writing Dune. What are they gonna do? Like, you can't. I'll be like, I'm Frank Herbert, man. I'm reincarnated Frank Herbert, even though he died when I was still alive.
You're like, what are you gonna do? So, Bobby, are you back with us?
But
I'm back. Sorry, I had to go to the bathroom.
I do plan on getting back on the stage. I've been working on a lot of different things. I have certain ideas. Like, you see, my crazy long hair. I don't know if I should even talk about this yet, but I'm thinking about a bit because the other night I got up to go to the bathroom and I was, I didn't have any clothes on and it was a little chilly, but I was really warm, like my neck and my back. And I was thinking to myself, if I just grew my hair out, I could just live in my hair. I wouldn't even need clothes. I could just be like Cousin It, just live in my hair. So
No.
He'd be more like the monster from that cartoon, like the Looney Tunes villain with all hair.
The only thing I can think of is, well, I was just gonna say the only thing that I wouldn't know where would I keep my gun?
In your hair.
Your asshole.
No. You do it with a silencer, like the Japanese would do with their, chopsticks.
Well, I'm wearing my hair. Well, maybe I could, but the thing is, though, I think if I was a person living in my hair, I probably wouldn't need a gun. I don't think anybody's gonna. I don't think anybody's gonna fuck with me. So. Oh
yeah, that's true too.
I heard the Dune movies are good. I never understood the hype. No, I totally get that. The real love or the real insanity for Dune or the goodness, the real nuggets are in the books. And I understand if you don't like to read or it's so time consuming, but audiobooks these days are just the shit. I listen to audiobooks a lot when I'm driving and stuff. And the Dune audiobooks are really good. It's more like a old school radio show kind of, they have different characters and stuff. So
that's kind of cool.
Lisan al-Gaib. Sorry.
How do you guys feel about porn?
I'm a fan.
Gom Jabbar. How do we feel about porn?
Yeah.
I tried. I'm not a fan of porn anymore. But again, I don't disparage anybody that is into it. It's like the way that I look at life is like, listen, whatever you're into, as long as it doesn't affect me or bother me, that's cool, man. Go ahead and do it. Because I feel like even though I think porn can be weaponized and used as a weapon to keep men constantly, expelling their semen like we were talking about. And I feel like that has an effect on people. And also it keeps people, Ari Shaffir said this really well back in the day. He would not jerk off on purpose so he could go out and because he knew if he, how as a guy, when you go out looking for girls, you're like, well, if I don't hook up with a girl, at least I go home and jerk off. Well, his thing was he didn't have that. So he had to work extra hard. And I'm not saying that's like a great lifestyle to go do, but I'm just saying he had something there with his idea. Right. And I feel like if it could be weaponized or whatever, but again, I'm not I just figured that out for myself, and that's what works for me. But if it doesn't work for somebody else and you're at that spot, then go ahead and do it. We have this saying on the Oversharing show that you have to do it till you're done. If you have some kind of like
That's how I
addiction
feel
or
about porn.
yeah, exactly. You do it till you're done, because the only way to really stop something, like I think of a drug addict. A friend of mine, it was a heroin addict, and he almost died. He almost OD'd right before 2020. This kid I grew up with, and I brought him to the rehab and all this stuff. And he went to rehab like 2 or 3 times, and it never worked. But this one time he almost died, and he thought about his kids growing up without a dad. And it just blew his mind, because he was normal. You wouldn't even know he was a heroin addict. You know what I mean? Like he had a job and all this stuff. So he quit because of that. He had to have that feeling inside. I feel like that's how it is for any kind of addiction or whatever it is, or something that you do that you don't want to. But I think the first step really is to just accept that you do it and be okay with it. Because whatever habit you have, there's a cycle, right? Say it's drinking. You don't want to drink. You go out to have one, and then you end up having too many. So then you wake up in the morning and you feel shitty and you hate yourself. So you start the cycle. And because you hate yourself, you drink to deal with it, So if you're going to go out and get drunk, just have a good time, enjoy it until one day it's not good enough for you. That's kind of how I'm looking at it,
Dad, I swear, if you don't get off heroin, I'm going to go shoot up a school and blame it on you.
Exactly. If you're a school shooter, just keep doing it until you're sick of it, No, I wouldn't suggest that.
All right, so Bobby, you're into it. Brandon, you're not into it. Guess who else isn't into it anymore? Sophia Leone's death. Porn star Sophia Leone has been found dead, and that's what the story was going to be about. But I liked it. We just went on a 20-minute Brandon porn thing.
Yeah.
Like some lady died. So if you've ever jerked off to Sophia Leone, now it's weirder. But New Mexico officials are currently probing the untimely demise of Sophia Leone, the adult film star, which they have categorized suspicious. Leone, age 26, was discovered dead in her apartment by family members on March 1st. The circumstances surrounding her passing are under investigation, with adult talent agency 101 Modeling disclosing on Twitter that her death is being treated as a potential robbery and homicide. Because at first they said it could just be natural causes. How many 26-year-old fit girls who get fucked for money just die all the time.
Don't they kill them at 26 anyway?
No, 27. That's the club.
Oh, yeah, that's the club. Yeah,
she had one more year.
She couldn't make it.
Sophia Leone, known for her work in the adult industry, tragically passed away on March 1st. According to her family, investigation into the cause of death is ongoing, as stated by her stepfather on a GoFundMe, which, by the way, there is nothing more porn than your stepfather's GoFundMe for your dead stepdaughter's dead, after she can't make the money off porn anymore. Adult Talent Agency 101 also noted her death on social media, hinting her, I'll just finish the whole sentence, hinting her potential foul play. Go ahead.
I happen to have done some research into this story, and her and her stepfather had a very unique and very close relationship.
Well, I don't know if that's that stepfather. That could be a different stepfather. I hate to bring it to you. Leone, born on June 10th, 1997 in Miami, USA, appeared in over 80 films from age 18 to 26. So I think that's a good number of films.
Yeah.
80?
Yeah, that's a breath.
What about like 10, a little more than 10, 12 a year, 13 a year? That's one a month. So that bad if you think about fucking. You fuck more than once a month. You're doing good. According to her IMDb, which, by the way, I think is hilarious that now porn stars have an IMDb. IMDb. That's what it should be. Why don't they call it IMDb? That's the one for the porn people.
There you go.
You're welcome, porn people. Her sudden demise has left her colleagues and loved ones devastated, with tributes pouring in from various sources. By the way, I don't know if you ever looked up cum tribute on fucking porn site, but that's not what you want when you die. That is not what you want in any way, shape, or form. Leone's death marks the third in the adult film industry within 2 months following the deaths of Cagney Lynn Carter and Jesse Jane. Cagney Lynn Carter, a prominent figure in adult industry, passed away at 36, which is like 94 in porn. While Jesse Jane, a well-known actress, died at 43. Leone's unexpected departure has left her family and friends feeling the shock and sorrow, compounded by financial strain of arranging her memorials. See, so who's the piece of shit in this story? Is it the stepfather for jumping in and going, "Hey man, we don't know what's going on, but I got this GoFundMe. And by the way, funerals are tough. We could use money. It's getting hard to make money now that I don't have this stepdaughter to fucking fuck people for money for me." Is it is it porn for saying we're going to do tributes to her? Because men that jerk off to women, their tributes are gross. Nobody wants that tribute. Is it police in New Mexico for first thinking this could just be natural causes or just a death? And someone's like, "Hey, wait," and then a porn modeling agency had to go, "Wait a minute. This seems suspicious." Yeah, maybe a little. Maybe she had money. Her stepdad needed money. Now he has a GoFundMe. She was found robbed and fucking killed. I wonder who did it. I don't know. It's almost like the stepdad's getting tired of just being used and not loved like he's in all those fucking movies they're in all the time. Or is it me, Bobby, and Brandon for not knowing the work of this IMDb super actress, Sophia Leone, which I hope you all go out and check out her work, pay tribute. Let's get her going. Let's get a hashtag. Sophia Leone is stiff, and so am I. I think that would be the great hashtag to have for her while she's dead and you're dead. Who's the piece of shit in the story? Bobby, go first.
You, that's a terrible hashtag.
Why? Why?
You didn't even say it with confidence as you were saying it.
I was making it up as I was talking.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. It's the porn community. This really could have been.
Okay, how about Sophia Leone? We're stiff.
I stiff with Sierra Leone.
Or I.Penis.
That's yeah.
All right.
Step dead.
But for me, it's that whole community. Instead of making tributes that way, this could have been their white girl solves the missing persons case moment. The entire community could have come together and solved this crime, kind of like when they got Christian Avery out of jail for that one thing or whatever. Women try all the time, but they suck at it. And I know I'm a woman hater, Brandon, but maybe it's because they're women. If we put the men in charge and let them do the investigation, maybe we solve a crime for once.
Well, yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Trust me. I didn't say I'm not misogynist.
I
just don't hate them.
I was just laughing as I was in the elevator, it just cut out, and then it cut in for 1 second, and I heard Bobby loves porn and hates women. And I was just like, oh shit. And then it cut out again.
It's our new show. Yeah. It's called Bobby Loves Porn but Hates Women.
It's not our new show. That's been the theme of the show. It's been for a long fucking time.
A lot of people say I'm the POS, but no, it's that community. Come solve this crime. How much do you love this woman? Brandon, if somebody murdered your girlfriend, you would go solve the crime.
I would probably be dead too, because they would have to kill me. They'd have to get through me to get to her. It's my fiance, by the way, too. Yay, me.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I'm starting to GoFundMe for their potential deaths. So.
And I authorize that, by the way. Give Pat money if I'm murdered that way. Give him the money. You could clip that.
Venmo Pat Dash Oates for all your fundraising of murder needs. Don't put "please murder a guy" underneath the hashtag. Bobby will critique it.
I want Pat to be able to get a jet ski from the money and enjoy my memory on a jet ski.
I like how
I don't want a Polish person at my house. I don't need a jet ski. Brandon, who's the piece of shit in the story?
I think the piece of shit in the story is the first person who ever thought of keeping track of time in calendars, because now I know that somebody born in 1997 is not only old enough to do porn, but they're too old to do porn now. So it's just pretty because in 1997 I was a full adult. Well, I mean, not a full adult, but I was 22. So or 20.
Yeah, I was definitely out of high school.
21 in 1997. Yeah. So
I'm older than all the people that died in those stories.
That's very sad. You haven't done any porn.
The piece of shit in this story is not the girl for dying. It's not the stepdads. No one there. It's not the people not the police for not figuring it out. It's anybody who now knows that she's dead and still jerks off to her. That's wild. I don't know how people do that. The second I find out someone's dead, I can't jerk off to them anymore. I get it; it's old work, whatever. But I don't know. There's already something creepy about porn, but there's something way creepier about jerking off to people when they're dead, knowing they're dead.
I'd like to think that long after I'm gone, people will still jerk off and rub one out to my memory.
Me?
No, mainly women. A couple
Oh,
gay dudes. I'm not gonna be mad if it's gay dudes, but I prefer women. Just put on.
Bobby, you do realize that when you die, because you set up the game,
Mhm.
so many people are going to jerk off at your coffin because you can't see it.
It really is like the final challenge, is it not? How many people can nut at my funeral?
And on that note, now I have to go to therapy. Like, really, I do. So,
Oh man, we didn't even get to do my other POS story.
well, you know what? We got time real quick. Go ahead.
All right. Basically, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden have another reason to get super into this
By the way,
scam.
this is obviously the made up one, so let's go.
Maybe, or maybe it was the bull semen.
I brought that
Uh,
up earlier.
I heard the Bidens have a new reason to get super motivated to win because allegedly it is in the works that if they win, they will get a new reality show, Hanging with Hunter. That's right, a Kardashian-styled show where the cameras follow Hunter Biden around all day and produce a weekly segmented TV show, Hanging with the Bidens. They got Seacrest to produce it.
Hanging with Hunter or hanging with the Bidens, mister? I already slipped.
Hanging with Hunter because you told me not to read my stories anymore, so I'm just trying to do this off the dome. But I guess I was going to say the way the season's really going to end is when Hunter slips up a little too much and they make it the season finale where you're hanging with Hunter, who's hanging Hunter. Who's the piece of shit in this story? Pat, we'll kick it to you first.
You. We didn't have. We could have saved that for fucking Monday. What is the fuck about this story? If there's a TV show on, they won't show the things you want to see. It won't matter at all. I don't believe it's a real story because the way you flew through it. But anyway, it's not. I'm also called bullshit on all three of your stories, if you notice. So that's kind of my thing now. So I just think it's all lies. But no, the piece of shit in this story is the Kardashians. The simple fact that we can use them as an example for any time someone's going to make the worst thing ever. And you just go, oh, you think it's terrible that we would follow this horrible family around? Like, there have been shows about families before that. There was the Ozzy one, about Ozzy Osbourne and all that, and all those kind of shows that did that before. But the Kardashians have taken the cake as, like, the most vapid, stupid thing. So the fact that, like, a son of the, like, dopiest president of all times, a son who runs around leaving cocaine in the White House with a crazy mom and everything like that. That show on its own should stand merit. You're like, no, like the Kardashians, you have to say it because you're like, like those dumb idiots who always sleep with black athletes and then somehow those guys die. Those guys.
Fair. But I would say the Ozzy Osbourne show was good. Like, we actually enjoyed that, whereas the Kardashians...
No, I'm saying that, but it's funny we don't use that as the mark. We use the Kardashian because we want the train wreck mark. We're not using the Ozzy Osbourne one as it was a good show following that. It's actually really kicked off reality in that sense, where it didn't have to be a game. Before that, it was Survivor and all those things. It was a competition, more reality thing. That one really just said, oh, we could just literally just watch people do shit.
Well, I will give it to you. Brandon, you've kind of got a simple life. We'll pick it to you. Who do you think the piece of shit is here?
I mean, I think the piece of shit is the person who didn't think about doing this show sooner. I mean, if you had cameras following around Hunter Biden a couple of years ago, it would have been a great show. I think now if they do it, they're just going to stage things, kind of like in some of the reality TV shows you see these days, where you could tell it's like totally staged.
That was my piece of shit too, as I was outside preparing for the show, going, no one's thought of this yet,
right? And I was going to say, the other thing I would say would be anyone, also a piece of shit here could be anyone who thinks that you're going to change the world by voting. And I get it. I used to be there. But I really think if you want to change the world and it's just like the guy who's looking at the bottom of the ocean for a continent, right? It's like, yeah, dude, we get it. But what are you really looking for, man? Like your marriage is on the rocks. Your daughter's a porn star now because you keep being at the bottom of the ocean all the time, right? So it's like, no, it lies within. Same thing with voting. If you want to change the world, if you really want to change the world, you change yourself. You know, you look at your own behavior. What am I doing? What can I do? How can I be a better person? And I think that's how you can actually, even if it's just a small way, you could change the world. I think thinking you could vote for a president to change the world is just a trap. I mean, look at the choices we get, you know, it's like,
Yeah, a turd sandwich or
yeah, exactly.
that's
So,
the piece of shit as well. So on that
Yeah,
note,
you
we
can't
can wrap up.
change the world, but you can change yourself from not being a Patreon or a member or subscriber to being one. That's what you can do. And by the way, as Brandon said, and I've been saying this for years and years, stop looking for Antarctica because your daughter is a porn star. We all know that is the number one cause for people becoming porn stars. Their dads out there not getting milk, but looking for Antarctica in all the wrong places. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been POS. Brandon, thank you so much for being on the show. Go see Bobby at Yuck Yucks tonight if you're in Toronto area. Follow the podcast, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Happy weekend to everybody that's been watching today. The Kish, the V, to Jim, to everybody that was on there, for Aaron, everyone that was jumping in, Stormy before. We thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are all the fucking best. Have a great weekend. All turd sandwiches are rigged. There you go. I see that at the bottom there. Thank you, Kish. Bobby, leave us with a little bit of wisdom, if you will.
Just remember, no matter what you're doing in life, if you're doing something you've done 1,000 times, it's the same. You know, the idea would be if you were playing in the state championship and you had to measure the basketball hoop, make sure it's still 10 feet tall, 15 feet from the free throw line. No matter the stage you're doing on, do what you've done for your whole life and you're going to crush it. And don't be a piece of shit.